Welcome everyone, my name is Dr. AJ Acierno and I am the CEO of DecisionOne Dental. During this pandemic, we have taken the opportunity to virtually meet every morning with all our team members. The idea is to inspire, to grow, and to learn. During that time, we have interviewed multiple people in order to help us do that. So I hope you can be inspired and you can grow by listening to these wonderful people. Thank you.
Melissa, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Great. All right, everybody. So welcome. Glad everybody can join this morning. We have a lot of news to go over. But first and foremost, we are going to learn this morning and learn from somebody that is pretty awesome. And Melissa Villanueva. Melissa has started Brewpoint Coffee, by the way, in Elmhurst. If you have not been to Brewpoint, you want to go, because it's not a cup of coffee, it's experience. And Melissa's going to talk a little bit about her story. And if anybody is thinking, what can a coffee shop have anything to do with dental? Believe me, a lot. We can learn a lot from great people like Melissa, and we have been. And so Melissa, welcome to the program this morning. We are so happy to have you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your story? Tell us a little bit about Brewpoint and how it came about and all that stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, AJ. So our story is, have you ever looked on Craigslist for an espresso machine and ended up finding a coffee shop instead? That's the story of Brewpoint Coffee. I, with my 6-month boyfriend, found a coffee shop on Craigslist and ended up buying it within a month. And that was 5.5 years ago. And from there, we had no idea what we were doing, but our whole hope was to get a little bit better every single day. And pre-pandemic, we ended up building it to 3 coffee shops, a wholesale roastery, an event space, and I also got to co-write a book called Starting and Running a Coffee Shop. So that's our whole background. That's our whole story in terms of building Brewpoint Coffee.
Melissa, so we're going to have to start looking on Craigslist for dental offices. That's what you're telling me, right? So that's that is a pretty phenomenal story, and love the success of it. So tell us a little bit about, I know that, the event space and all that. What has gotten you through this period of COVID, and what have you done during this period of COVID? And what can we learn from you and based on what Brewpoint is doing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So first, I think I want to acknowledge just the fact that, being an entrepreneur, being a business owner is extremely tough right now. If I think through, I'm going to tell you about my journey, and there's going to be a lot of success during the COVID era, which we're just so incredibly grateful for. But I want to acknowledge that, not just thinking about, your business as financially speaking, you're thinking about taking care of people, right? You're taking care of your family, you're taking care of your employees, you're trying to take care of yourself, and you're trying to take care of all these things, not just in a financial way, but also in a emotional, mental, spiritual, anything type of way. And it's a lot. And kind of going towards the videos that you guys were showing, it's really easy to feel paralyzed by a lot of it. And I know that I felt that way through this whole journey. It's been, a month and a half, 2 months. For me, it was mid-February when I started thinking that this was going to be big. And I started talking to my team about it of you should save your money and things of that sort. And I remember feeling like Chicken Little because a lot of them were kind of why are we not doing reusable cups anymore? Why are we not doing all these different things? And I'm just just wait 2 weeks. Just wait 2 weeks. Trust me. Obviously what happened, and we had to close down certain locations and had to go from there. And so for me, the journey really looks like, how do I manage 2 very specific things? How do I manage the financial well-being of my company and thereby my staff, but also the culture that I had built. By the time that COVID happened, the culture of my company was at the best it's ever been. And the team was really gelling really well, really excited about the growth that we were having. And we got to a place where when this happened and I had to close down 2 of my locations, that everyone was just really scared. And so that paralysis is real. But I think that when you take a second, step back, and you take care of yourself first, you're able to take care of everything else. And so for us, I took that step back and it kind of took a look at, what do I want to do here? What's important here? And from there, we were able to open up one shop at a time, and pivot as much as possible, knowing that the most important thing for us is the health and well-being of our team, while also trying to be as creative as possible with that. So that in my mind, because I was kind of aware of this early on, it was like the old rules no longer apply. In terms of like how things function in owning a food and beverage business. I have to acknowledge what the new rules are, which is that health and safety is just entirely different now, and the standards of it are so much higher. So how do I operate semi-long term knowing that there's new rules here? And for me, that meant opening and running a contactless cafe. So we pivoted from like our whole business model, I will say, was about creating community space. And so it was really sad to lock our doors. But knowing that that was kind of part of the issue, and having community spaces where people could get sick, it was really important that we lock those doors and specifically focus on the happiness that our product brings rather than just the experience of our space. So we locked our doors. We created a contactless walk-up window for our cafes, and really focused in on that. Just like everything else, we had pared down a lot of our payroll expenses, and I was doing a lot of the social media, just trying to talk to the community and relate to the community in a way that is personal, of like what we're trying to do, what we're trying to accomplish, and trying to be as genuine and authentic as possible. And also,
so Melissa,
go ahead.
Let me ask you something, because I think that first of all, you've had some. I want to make sure everybody's hearing this. So take care of yourself. That was a big thing that you did in order to be able to be a great leader. I think that's super important. The second thing is that you started figuring out, okay, there's new rules of the game, and now we're going to take these new rules and pivot on something. And now you're talking about a contactless window, okay? Of course, dealing with the expenses and all that stuff and getting a contactless window. So once the contactless window happened, how did you continue your culture through that type of window, considering the fact that you are a community space and stuff? We're a relationship-based business ourselves in dentistry. We got all this PPE on, and we're doing all this, it feels like we're not, with the patient anymore, which is which was part of our business. So how are you guys doing that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think it's tough, right? It's not what it used to be, but it is about building a new way of connection. And for better or worse, like, I think a lot more people are on social media, a lot more people are on the internet. So all your branding, your messaging, the experience of what online is what people get in terms of your culture. So, I mean, the big thing for me, I wanted to be as authentic as possible. I did not want to convey something on social media that wasn't true internally for my team. So if I noticed that my team was struggling, like, I posted less and I worked on it. And then, then from there, when I noticed that like we were in a better place, like we would share communally what the team dancing behind bar, or just like fun experiences like that. And to kind of show like a more, like, I guess, like vulnerable side of like managing a culture during this time, right? So when we opened up our cafe, at first we were doing cash, and cash technically means like you can order at the window, but you're still exchanging something with someone. And so when we were doing that, the team was feeling very like, kind of like, is this about money, or is this about me? Like, they were worried and trying to trust me that I had their best interests in mind, but they weren't sure because they were having that exchange with customers. And so my leadership team, very grateful that they can be honest with me. And so they essentially mentioned, hey, like, we are trusting you and we don't know if this is putting us at risk or not. And so very quickly it was just like, then let's do contactless. Like we don't know how this virus works. So if this is something that you all feel uncomfortable with, I'm sure everyone has different variations of it, but I know that at the end of the day, they're putting themselves out there because they trust me. And so we just took it out, and it was a little difficult customer wise. I mean, they're used to the convenience. To some level, it does bar some people from being able to order if they don't have a credit card or some sort of card. But we felt like in terms of preserving our culture, the moment that we did that, the team felt 100 times better. And since then, and it's been over a month that we've been doing contactless, the culture has been great, as much as possible. So
the three things that I hear on there is communication, listening to your team members, and trust. I mean, those are really fundamental things. I mean, that's why you have a great culture. You guys are very diverse. You're not just a cup of coffee revenue stream type of business, Talk a little bit about that. I think that was, when I'm looking at your website, and of course I've been to Brewpoint. So it is much more than just hey, I need a cup of coffee. Let me have a cup of coffee. Talk a little bit about that, because I think that is important. That is definitely a similarity with dentistry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So pre-COVID, we had about 7 revenue streams, 3 cafes, wholesale roastery, online store, events, catering. So we had 7 revenue streams. And then when COVID happened, we went down to 2. We went only online store and the Founders Cafe. So that was very scary. But taking a look at the fact that people are still drinking coffee, what are people looking for and what's the best way to get it to them? We did find that, our one cafe and store had so much potential. So how do we create variations within the things that we're able to do? So for the online store, we really focused on not just selling coffee, retail bags of coffee, but we started putting together care packages. And with the care packages, we focused more on creating an emergency fund with that profit for the team. And that ended up doing really well. We sold more care pack. I mean, between everything in the online store, it's really interesting because selling business to consumer versus selling business to business, which is what wholesale and distribution was, is much more profitable. And so even though our revenues are down on the online store, it ended up becoming that our profitability was equal to what it was pre-COVID. So we were able to make Brewpoint care packages. We started a initiative called Fuel Our Front Lines, which essentially donates, asking people to buy a coffee that's a little bit more expensive, so it helps us donate as much coffee as possible to medical frontliners, and that has been great. We've been able to do about 100 bags of donation every week for the past month, which we're just stoked that it's continuing on the way it is. So and that's, those are the main facets that we've been able to do. And since then, we've been able to open up our second cafe, the workshop and roastery, continue doing what we're doing at the Founders Cafe there. I will say that it does help that Starbucks has been closed this whole time. That was one of the things that really helped us gain a competitive edge this past month, is that, the biggest competitor in terms of convenience at the very least, that kind of gave us some time to build something up, and gain new customers. So
that's awesome. I think that says a lot, because when you have multiple revenue streams, 7, right, and all of them get shut down, but you could take 2 and become great at 2. It's the same thing in dentistry, right? We have all these revenue streams, basically the types of things that we do in dentistry. Those all get shut down, but those dentists that were really good at emergencies, taking teeth out, doing root canals, and taking care of emergency type of care, those are the ones that have really thrived during this time. And again, I think that's a learning lesson for us all, especially entrepreneurs and business owners, as we move forward, is that always be prepared for anything. And the best thing to do is don't put all your eggs in one basket. And you are just you guys have proven that time and time again over at Brewpoint, which I think is awesome. Tell me a little bit about, I know for time here, but I do want to talk about the technology that you're utilizing and how you've looked at technology and said, okay, how could this be the wave of the future? What can I do with technology moving forward?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, one thing I'll mention, so I'm an economic development commissioner for the city of Elmhurst, and talking to a lot of different business owners, it is, I mean, we know that, online might help, but it's easy to feel like I don't really know how that works, and so I'm not going to try and figure it out. But what I'm finding and what I'm seeing is, if you bet on yourself, right? Like, I'm sure, I mean, if you're a business owner, a lot of us are pretty smart. We're problem solvers. We figure things out. Technology, though there might be a learning curve there, it's getting more and more friendly to users. So the different apps, different platforms that you use, like, we can figure it out. We can figure out how to build an online, figure out how to make sure we have the right, like, payment platforms and things of that sort. And so in my mind, I've been doing all of our websites, like building and figuring out how our, like, point of sale system is supposed to work, and how, I mean, there's been issues, but we've been engaged in launching something, engaged in problem solving with it, and that has helped us get to a place where our online platforms are pretty robust. I mean, robust enough to be able to keep similar profitability as we were previous to COVID. And so, all that being said, I just want to encourage everyone. I mean, if you're using online platforms, dig into it. If it's not the right platform, there are easier ones that can help. And so, I definitely think technology is going to be the way of the future in a lot of ways. And so, figuring that out and learning about it is going to be really important.
Melissa, that's awesome. So, Melissa, give us all the locations. Tell us where you're located. I want everybody to hear this loud and clear. Go ahead.
Thank you. So we're in Elmhurst, Illinois. I have 2 cafes that are open. One is our founder's location on 124 West Park Avenue in Elmhurst, right next to the train station. And then our larger workshop and roastery is open on the weekends, and that is in North Elmhurst, 617 North York. But the best way to get our coffee is also online at brewpointcoffee.com. We do wholesale for offices. We do sell to individuals, and so we're doing the whole gambit.
That is awesome, Melissa. And listen, we're going to be definitely putting an order in and today, and doing for the frontline workers and everything else. I will tell you, what you guys are doing is phenomenal. I think one of the best parts about, there's not many good parts, but one of the best parts about this COVID is being able to meet people like you, for our team members to be able to learn from entrepreneurs like yourself is pretty phenomenal. Congratulations on all your guys' success and your continued success. With somebody with you at the helm, believe me, you guys are going to wade through this pretty easy and come out on this better than ever. So,
thank you so much, AJ, and thank you so much for this opportunity to get to know all of you as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, Melissa. Brewpoint Coffee, everybody, please visit Brewpoint Coffee. I think it is a phenomenal place. So thanks, Melissa. Appreciate it.